CBS's 60 Minutes issued a rare apology for a 2-week-old piece about the terrorist attack in Benghazi. The source for their story, a man who used the pseudonym Morgan Jones, who misled, apparently, the program staff when he claimed he rushed to the compound the night of the attack, at least according to the FBI. The apology lasted only 90 seconds, revealed nothing new about why they trusted Jones in the first place, who had admittedly lied about the account well, not admittedly, but who had been accused of lying about the incident to his employer and the FBI. 3 CIA witnesses to that attack are set to testify in a closed-door session before House Intelligence Subcommittee later this week. My first guest has been reporting on the attack since the first day. He says the hearing could offer significant contradictions to the Obama administration's account. Joining us is Stephen Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor. Stephen, let me begin first by saying good to have you here. Secondly, the 60 Minutes, they basically took the word of the FBI that his account, Morgan Jones' account, his pseudonym, varied from the account given in a debrief in the UK. Is that correct?
Yeah, and certainly differed in some significant and striking ways from the account that this Mr. Jones included in his book. And I think the FBI is right on that. I think there are discrepancies in the account. I think he looked uneasy even on that initial 60-minute story telling the account. I think it was pretty clear that Lara Logan had some questions about his veracity because she asked him, as he's telling the story about climbing this 12-foot wall and hitting a jihadist in the head with the butt of his rifle, she stops him and says, "Did anybody else see this?" And he says, "No." Now, that, of course, doesn't mean that he wasn't telling the truth, obviously, right, but it means that she thought to ask him a little bit more about whether what he was saying was true.
It's odd that they went ahead with the report with these concerns, if there were initial concerns before talking to the FBI. Secondly, it is odd that a news organization would simply take the word of the FBI, an FBI that had not shown up at the scene in Benghazi, that is, that burned out consulate, for 3.5 weeks after the incident. There are peculiarities here, and his incident report alleged it was not signed by Morgan Jones, and all we have is the word of an agency that reports to an attorney general who has politicized the Justice Department to begin with. This is a very difficult story and a very difficult trail to follow because one would think skepticism would be at its highest level on all accounts.
Yes, I mean, I think skepticism should always be at the highest level. I agree with you completely on that. I think one of the interesting aspects of this story is that one of the things that Republican investigators have been trying to get and have released publicly, if possible, is these FBI accounts, these interviews with the survivors once they left Benghazi. And the administration has been reluctant even to turn those over to members of Congress. Now, they've turned over some. They haven't turned over them all. Members of Congress would like to see more. But if you want to talk about a way to gain some clarity, for those of us who are still interested in the truth, capital T truth, and with what happened in Benghazi, make those available. The argument you hear against that is, well, we're in the middle of this investigation and the FBI is trying to press charges. I see very little evidence that we are in the middle of an investigation, and if it's clear that these guys are going to be rung up on charges, why haven't we seen that? It's been more than a year.
Yes, and why hasn't, if they are so interested in the suspects, as they would term them in the FBI, terrorists is what the CIA would designate them as, and try to kill them. It is a peculiar, if you will, conflation of roles between the FBI, the CIA, the State Department, and frankly, the United States military. It looks as though the FBI investigation, being skeptical again at this point, has served as nothing more than obfuscation and a barrier between, as you put it, the truth with a capital T and the administration's political interest. Is that too harsh?
No, it's very interesting. If you talk to people who are familiar with the FBI investigation, they will tell you things or hint around things like the FBI has discovered something big. There's something, we should be hearing something public about this in the coming days. And yet, week after week, month after month go by, and we don't hear these things. And you go back about 2 months ago, there was a hearing before the House Intelligence Committee about the status of this investigation. And in effect, what I understand is that the CIA said, we have the capability to be on the ground there. We could apprehend these guys if we had a way to detain them and to hold them. And the FBI saying, we don't have the capability, but if we get them, we can bring them to trial. And in effect, what you have is you have these two agencies pointing like that past one another, which means that we don't have anybody in custody. I mean, the United States has spent precious little time interrogating even those we know who were involved in the attack, who've been held by foreign governments, and never alone, never only with the United States investigators.
Yeah, and now we are treated to the spectacle of the United States Congress, led by Congressman McCall and Congressman Wolf, wanting to find out why, if the Justice Department, the FBI, is so interested, why didn't they have them on their effectively most wanted list, their rewards for justice program? A question that'll presumably be answered. Let's turn quickly to the Iran nuclear attacks, which last week, for a time, Secretary Kerry made it seem as if they were within hours of a deal. Then suddenly there was no deal, and then it was the French government's fault. And today we can sort of, in the afterglow of it all, ask, why is the Secretary of State saying the American government is neither blind nor stupid on the issue of Iran? What do you make of it?
Well, it's never very reassuring when the Secretary of State has to declare that the United States government is neither blind nor stupid, because it suggests that those are serious questions. And I think when you look at what was alleged to have been in this deal, there are serious questions as to why we would have been a participant in it or pushing it in one way or another. There's a fascinating new account in the Guardian paper in London about the French intercession in this plan. And basically what it suggests is the French foreign minister flew to Geneva, inserted himself in these talks because he was afraid that if he didn't get there post-haste, the United States and Iran would have already basically agreed on the terms of a bad deal. So you had the French intervening to prevent that outcome, essentially persuading Secretary Kerry to hang on, to wait a second, and scuttling what could have been a very bad deal. Now, I think that there will ultimately be some deal. There are additional negotiations likely to take place next week at a level down. But I think there's going to be a deal because the Obama administration desperately wants a deal.
Stephen Hayes, always good to talk with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Lou.
Turning now to the weekend box office, Disney's Thor: The Dark World hammered the competition. The Marvel superhero movie earned $86 million in his first weekend, making it the fourth largest debut of the year behind Iron Man 3, Man of Steel, and Fast and Furious 6. Anybody for a sequel? The Paramount comedy Jackass Presents Bad Grandpa held on to second place for the second weekend in a row, $11 million. Nothing sells like class. And coming in third, Relativity Media's animated movie Free Birds. It made over $11 million. And on the small screen, my Fox News colleague Bill O'Reilly helping to bring in record ratings for the National Geographic Channel, as if Fox News wasn't enough. Last night's airing of his of the Killing Kennedy movie, based on O'Reilly's best-selling book, drew nearly 3.4 million viewers, just slightly above the network's previous record set by O'Reilly's Killing Lincoln earlier this year. Do you see a theme building? Up next, Iran says no to the United States, but says yes to the United Nations. General Thomas McInerney on Iran's real nuclear strategy. Next. Stay with us.